hello. Welcome to week 2 or wherever you're at, section 2 of I Am Woman. This week we will be really delving into nervous system and self-trust. And I just wanted to lead with this first kind of quote that we always hear. And I actually had a friend say it to me today, and I was just like, I don't agree with it. And it said that time heals all wounds. And if that was the case, how come even after years post-traumatic experience are we feeling our heart rate rise, our body heat rise, like whatever it is, when that person that hurt us is contacting us again, or we hear about them? And the reality is that our bodies are storing this. Our nervous system actually reacts because our bodies are storing the trauma. And that's not the case in saying that time heals all wounds, because time doesn't. Our body does. And that's what we're going to chat about now. We'll go into some theory around this, but I really wanted to speak on just like shifting out of survival mode and how we'll regulate our emotions and rebuild that self-trust so that you feel safe in yourself, in love, in life, in your parenting, in your friendships. Again, like I said, why time alone won't heal, but your body will. Healing isn't just a mindset shift, it's a nervous system shift. If you don't regulate your emotions, you'll go usually one of two ways. You'll either spiral with anxiety or you'll numb out and switch off. Either way, it's a coping mechanism. And it's because we're not actually taught how to regulate our emotions from a young age. Raise your hand if you were told, I'll give you something to cry about. Or, oh, like, stop, you're just so emotional, you're just so dramatic. Right? These are all things that we are taught from a young age to start confusing us. Oh, okay, I don't know how to process this emotion. So then we internalize and we either go into this internal anxiety or we'll numb it out. And then in our teenage years, that can just become so much more deeper and darker. But in terms of love, in terms of heartbreak, if love has always felt unstable, then your body is wired for stress and not safety. Heartbreak usually lives in your body, tight chest, knots in your tummy, shaky hands, overthinking spirals. These are all common themes around how our body reacts to heartbreak. If I think about a time in my life where I hadn't quite healed a part of me, it would be around when my son's father has messaged me recently. And he has been in jail for a long time. Not really a long time, probably a year. Before that, he was out for like 3 months, in for a year before that. It's just like this vicious cycle now where he is in and out. And back, 2 years ago, if he had messaged me, I would go into a massive spiral. And usually there was like a few different moving parts to that, but a lot of it was around like me feeling sorry for him, wanting to save him from his addiction, which now I know you can't save anyone from addiction. They have to want it. But he would message me. So say he'd get out of jail. I want to see my son. Okay. And I started to see this pattern each time he would kind of like try and re-enter our lives. I'd see the pattern of him reaching out. I wouldn't respond because I would be spiraling. I'd be over here spiraling, freaking out that he was going to come and take our son off of me, even though logically that can't happen. That wouldn't happen, not in the eyes of, our law here. But when you're in that state, and I'm sure if you experience these moments of anxiety, you can't think logically. You can't. So anyway, time's gone on. I've healed certain parts of that relationship and that, mourned almost like my son having his father. And then, you know, I think it was like perhaps a year ago or something, he had another child with another woman and she messaged me. And, I did get shaky. Of course I got shaky and I was in shock. But when I actually read into the message, it was basically her needing some sympathy for him not being present in their daughter's life. And, you know, I grounded myself as best as I could back then. And I sent her a voice message back, kind of just being like, what did you expect? And, that was a hard message to send because, I had thoughts of, oh, is she tricking me? And she's really going to tell him this and then he's going to use this against me in court. Like that's where my brain was spiraling. And then, as I continued to do some work around this, I started to really see the pattern of myself and the reaction that I was having in my body, even when I would think logically. So as time went on, yes, time went on. It didn't completely heal me because my body was still having this somatic response. So then when he messaged me about, I think it was like 6 weeks ago, sorry. And I didn't have this response. It was like, oh my gosh, like I did have like a little bit of like, but it wasn't how it used to be. It wasn't shaking. It wasn't like this tightening of my throat, this heaviness on my chest. It wasn't this complete nervous system response. And that's when I was like, yes, the work is working because him being away, out of sight, out of mind, you don't have to face those things. But him getting out, I had to face it. I didn't know he was out. I had to face it. And it was such a beautiful realization for me that I've broken this pattern because he actually messaged again either last night or the night before. And again, I was like, oh, he's okay, calm, calm. I didn't have this like, and that's because I've worked so hard on resetting my nervous system. And this is what I want for you. Okay, so signs you're stuck in survival mode. You replay the breakup over and over in your head. You struggle to relax even when nothing's wrong. That's a big one. Struggle to have downtime. You shut down, avoid emotions, or feel disconnected from yourself. And, often we can kind of like shrug this off as like just being like a mum, just being motherhood, just being life. Life is busy. But when you actually stop and take a moment and be like, oh, yeah, I do avoid feeling sad because I feel like I'm going to spiral and I'm going to have a nervous breakdown and end up in hospital. I am too scared to feel anger because anger is bad. Anger equals rage. Anger equals hurting people. And so then we've become more disconnected from ourselves. So what I want you to do right now is just to take a moment and just really kind of think about that. What emotions have you been avoiding? When you shut down, where are you feeling disconnected from yourself? Do you know yourself? Do you feel yourself? Just sit with that. How does my body react when I feel emotionally triggered? I also want you to journal down, what are my go-to ways of coping? Either healthy or unhealthy. Do you drink? Do you take drugs? Valium even? Do you go to the gym twice a day? Do you try and switch off by just exercising all the time? Do you binge eat? Do you restrict? Do you watch a lot of Netflix? What is it that you are using to cope? Do you aimlessly scroll on your phone? Just think about that. and then come on to the next lesson.